And a good Monday evening. Welcome into Time Out here on TVNB. Jim Hennessy flying solo this Monday evening. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. We have got a great lineup of hockey for you. If you're an NHL fan, you're going to love this show this week. Grant Fuhr rolls into town. Mike Gartner stops by for a chat. And the St. John Flames blow a golden opportunity over the weekend to really put a stranglehold on first place in the Atlantic Division. All that and a whole lot more are on the way, so stay right there. Well, we certainly hope your week is getting off to a great start. Jim Hennessy, like we said, flying solo here for the next 30 minutes. Sit back, relax, and enjoy some of the footage we picked up for you the previous week gone by. A lot of fine folks were in town, and we had a chance to get our TVNB cameras out to most of the events that took place over the past 7 days. We start down at Harbor Station in the Blue Room as five-time Stanley Cup champion Grant Fuhr was sent down on a reconditioning stint. Still in town, expected to play Wednesday night when the St. John Flames play host to the Syracuse Crunch. So Grant Fuhr rolls into town, and a lot of excitement and a lot of buzz going on down at Harbor Station. Here's what Grant had to say about arriving in St. John and getting back on his blades and trying to get back into shape for the playoff stretch.
Well, I've made a couple of drops into the American League. I got played in Cape Breton for a while, Moncton for a little while, where else? Rochester for a little bit. So I've had different experiences, and I think it's enjoyable. And it's a lot of fun to come down and play, and I think the game might be a little bit more scrambly, but that also makes it a lot more fun. I mean, obviously you'd rather be playing, but I think anytime if you're going to have to sit and watch, you want the team to be successful, and I think the way Freddie's played's been great, and now that we're having success, it's made it that much easier. And I think the biggest thing is to get healthy and get back playing, and then things have a way of sorting themselves out. So that's not something that I can be concerned about. I just have to be concerned about getting ready to play. But for now, I think playing the next year or two and having a good finish, I think, will be the most important thing.
I guess there's so much written and said over the last couple of months with millennium lists and the best of the century and that. Where do you think the Oilers teams rank in terms of being one of the top teams overall? Obviously, you're a little biased, but your comment on that.
I think we fit up somewhere in the top. I mean, whether we'll be at the top or not, it's hard to say because there's been so many good teams. You look at all the Montreal teams, you look at the way the Islanders were, and there's so many great organizations that put together good runs that I think we're up there with them, but whether we'd be the front of the pack or not, it'd be hard to say.
You're one of the leaders of that club as well. Does that core group still keep in touch at all from those earlier dynasties, or have you all gone your separate ways?
I think you see a lot of the guys over the summer. I mean, I know I run into them different events and such over the summer, and if you happen to be playing against them, we take the time to chit-chat a little bit and hang out.
That can argue the fact that Grant Fuhr is definitely headed to the Hall of Fame. He's had a spectacular career, like we mentioned off the top, five-time Stanley Cup winner. You remember the glory days when he was between the pipes for the Edmonton Oilers, and a lot of people showed up to Harbor Station, well over 5,000 on Friday evening, to check out and see if some of the old magic was still there. But you had to put into perspective that Grant Fuhr is 37 years old, hasn't played in 2.5 months, and the magic was there. There was a couple of times where you saw Grant with the glove and with the pads and just the heads-up play that he brings to the team or any team that he plays for, but they lost 4-2 to the Portland Pirates on Friday night. So unfortunately, Grant didn't get a win, but I don't think that's the main objective that the Flames brought him down here. Main objective is he hasn't played in 2.5 months, had serious knee surgery, try to get him back on the blades, feeling comfortable on the ice once again, and that way they can get him back up to Calgary, and hopefully Calgary can continue their outstanding play and continue their drive to make the playoffs, which hasn't happened in quite a few seasons. We had a chance to talk to Flames head trainer Brian Miller over the weekend as well. Here's what Brian had to say about having Grant in the locker room and just having that kind of winning spirit around the other players, and how long he expects Grant to be down with St. John and how long before he's back in Calgary. Here's what Brian had to say. Brian, just let me know. Go for it. Brian, I guess the first obvious question is Grant Fuhr. How's he feeling, and how long do you think he's going to be here?
Grant's feeling good. He's obviously, before they send him down here, they're going to make sure he's in great health before he comes down to us. But he's feeling good. He said the knee's feeling the best it has in the most recent years. And I think one of the key reasons for him to come down here is just to get his timing back and shake off the rust and try and get things going before he has to do his absolute best up there in the NHL. So he's here, I think, at least until the middle of next week. But I mean, you don't count your chickens before they hatch. I mean, in the hockey world, we all know that things can change on an hourly basis. But he's here for a few days anyhow, and it's great to have a veteran like him that's Stanley Cup winner and just a great veteran to have in the dressing room.
Obviously, that kind of injury can't be easy to bounce back from. He hasn't played in almost 2.5 months. So did you have a chance to talk to him after the game? How did he feel about it overall?
Well, he felt a little rusty, a little bit of the timing off early in the game. But I mean, as all good veterans, especially like him, I mean, it's like riding a bike. It comes back pretty fast. And I think anybody who watched the game, I think he had a really good third. And hopefully, he'll just keep improving, and he'll be up with Calgary. And between him and probably, I would assume, Freddie Brathwaite up there, they'll be able to take the Flames into the playoffs this year.
No question. And once again, we thank Brian Miller for stopping to take some time to chat with us about Grant Fuhr and his reconditioning stint here in St. John. As we mentioned, Fuhr, not a successful start in his first game here with the St. John Flames. A 4-2 loss to the Portland Pirates. Did not play between the pipes on Saturday night as the Flames played host to the Springfield Falcons and absolutely got humiliated. 7-1 in front of just shy of 5,000 at Harbor Station on Saturday night. We should make mention that TVNB will be broadcasting Saturday night's game again this evening, coming up for a 10 o'clock start right here on TVNB. So don't forget to check that out if you want to maybe check out that fight that Rocky had towards the end of the third period there on Saturday night. It was a pretty good tilt. Anyway, we move right along, and it's not very often. Past couple of weeks we've been discussing the NHL and the state of the Canadian NHL teams and how much longer they could be here. A lot of times you hear the word greed brought in with no salary cap in place, and most of the players like Alexei Yashin holding out for more money, Keith Primo doing the same, holding out for more money before he signed on with Philadelphia. So it's not very often you get the opportunity lately to say, what is the NHL giving back to the community? Well, that was in the forefront, I should say, on Saturday morning at the LBR as the fifth leading all-time scorer in the NHL. I'm surprised I got that out without tripping over it. Mike Gartner was in town over the weekend, and they have a program now called Goals and Dreams, and we had a chance to take our TVNB cameras over to the LBR on Saturday morning, and here's how that broke down.
I just want to extend also my thanks to the media for coming and covering this event. I think anytime you can get exposure for a program like this, it raises the awareness of the community and encourages community involvement in the future. So I'd like to thank those people that came. I'd just really like to give you just a brief history of the Goals and Dreams program that has recently been launched. This was actually thought of a couple of years ago by the players of the National Hockey League. They wanted to try and form some kind of a fund or a foundation to help give back to the communities and to give back to hockey, which has been so very good to all of us. And because we do our business on an annual basis, because we can only get the players together usually once a year in June at our annual meetings, it's taken over a couple of years to have this happen. We got the green light this past June in our meetings that we had in Montreal to go ahead with the Goals and Dreams project. The idea was to establish a fund that the players themselves would contribute to through our licensing revenue that we generate for hockey cards and video games and jerseys and things of that nature. And so it was decided by the players that they would contribute to a fund, which we now call the Goals and Dreams Fund, $15 million over the next 5 years. That money was going to help in developing and assist and develop hockey at the grassroots level around the world. And as you know, in the NHL, we have a very diverse, I guess, makeup of the players. We're very geographically diverse. We have players from Canada, we have players from the United States, from Finland, from Sweden, from the Czech Republic, from Russia, and from Slovakia and other Eastern European countries. And the idea for the Goals and Dreams Fund is to help assist hockey at the grassroots level, not only in Canada but around the world. So when we were when I was approached by Bruce Smith this summer, and we were just in the early stages of pulling this all together, and Bruce said, this is what we're trying to do, and this is what we'd like to do in St. John. I said, you know what, Bruce? I said, this sounds absolutely perfect. I said, we're still working on developing the criteria that we want to use for people that are going to ask for grants and ask for funds to do the things that they want to do in their community. And I said, it sounds that this is exactly the direction that we want to take. So Bruce and I had talked back and forth a number of times, and he actually put in his formal application. And this is the first grant that we're giving with our Goals and Dreams. So we wanted to make sure that the first time that we gave the funds and the money, and in this case the equipment, that we wanted it to be done very well. Because we wanted a template that we could use for other communities around the world, that when they're asking for funds, and we can say, yeah, we can do it, but this is the way that we envision it being done. And I think the key was community involvement. And I think we see the community involvement that has been necessary to get this thing off and running. Sometimes the easiest thing to do is to write a check and to provide the funds. And in many ways, that's what we're doing at the Players Association. We're in some ways doing the easy thing, is we're giving the money. Now the money, in a lot of cases, is the hard thing to get around, because people want to contribute their time, they want to contribute their energy, but they don't have the funds to do it. So we're able to provide those funds and use community involvement, like has happened here in St. John, to develop a great program in the Hockey for Everyone program. So we're very very excited about being associated with this. I would like to thank Bruce Smith for all the work that he's done. I've known Bruce for quite a few years, and I think that pulling this all together and having all the support that he's had in pulling it all together has certainly made it easy from our end. I know he's worked with Devin Smith, who is the co-chair with me in the Goals and Dreams Fund at the National Hockey League Players Association, and Devin has done a lot of work from our side, but certainly he's worked with Bruce on that as well. So I'd like to thank Bruce for that. I'd also like to thank CCM, the hockey company, who we purchased the equipment from them at their cost, which hockey companies do not do very often. So we appreciate the hockey company stepping forward and providing this equipment for us at cost. Well, now is the fun time, because now is the time that we're going to end the formal part of this proceedings. The guys with the cameras and the writers and everything can certainly go ahead and ask anybody any questions. I'm sure people will be around for a little while. We're going to go on the ice pretty soon. But now's the time that we actually hand the equipment out.
Great! I packed it all.
There you go, Brandon. We got a jersey for Brandon, too? Oh, we got a jersey for you, too. Nice to have your own bag, huh?
I guess so. Mike Parrott.
Mike, obviously this is a program that benefits kids all the way around, and does some great PR for the NHLPA as well.
Well, it does, and the idea is not to get good PR, but I mean you're going to, and you're going to give $15 million away for 5 years. I mean, you are going to get good PR, because I don't think you can give it away poorly and not get a benefit for it from that standpoint. But the fact of the matter is that these are the types of programs, this Hockey for Everyone in St. John, are exactly the types of things that we want to give money to. They're community organized. There's a lot of volunteers. The kids that are receiving the equipment are kids that would not otherwise be able to afford to play hockey. And really, it's a great situation for them to receive this equipment. It's a great situation for us, because we want to give it give money, and we want to give it well. And when we know things are as well organized as they are here, it makes it very easy.
St. John's got to feel pretty lucky about this whole thing, because I mean, this is a North American project that you guys stepped out on this thing.
It's a worldwide project, actually, and it will be, the funds will be given basically in the same proportion as our geographical makeup within the NHL. So right now 56% of the players in the NHL are Canadian, so 56% will probably go to Canadian causes. This one, you know, us being stationed in Toronto, sometimes you think everything happens around Toronto, and it doesn't. See, I'm not letting you in on any information that you don't know already, right?
Right.
And so doing it, I think, outside Toronto, I think is a really good thing. And most of the requests that we've gotten, believe it or not, have been from small towns all across Western and Eastern Canada, and we've gotten very few from Toronto. And so it's perfect, because I think that that's really, in many ways, where grassroots hockey takes place, is in the small Canadian towns. So it's really perfect.
Absolutely. Got to feel pretty good. I mean, when the kids are coming up here and receiving the gear and a big smile on their face, and I mean, some of them have never seen a brand new piece of hockey equipment in their life, so that's got to make you feel good.
Well, it does, and it should make every player in the league feel good, because it's their money that's going to fund this, and that's the idea. Is we're here just to run the program well, but the money comes from the NHL players, and they're the ones that are contributing to this. So it makes me feel good, and I'm sure it makes them feel good as well.
Just to get off, not to get off the topic too much, but seeing that the NHL bailout offer for Canadian teams has still been a big issue. How do you feel about Ottawa? Is this just a ploy that they're using maybe to get some more money, or are they really in that much financial trouble?
Well, I don't know if it's a ploy. I think Rod Bryant, I've listened to his press conferences and listened to his comments, and he seems like a very sincere man. I think he's very well spoken, and he knows his facts, and he's just presented a case that he feels that the tax situation and his particular hockey team is oppressive, and he's brought that to the forefront, and he's done everything he can to try and rectify that. And I think that certainly the city of Ottawa and Canada are behind it. And the region is behind it. I don't know if the province is behind it, and I certainly know now that the federal government isn't behind it. But I think that it's probably a good thing for the local and municipal governments to get involved with businesses, which is the team that we're talking about right now, and support it in that way.
Can hockey in Canada continue to survive, or is this a point where maybe the players' union has to stop and take a look and say maybe a salary cap wouldn't hurt? I mean, the NFL has had one for years, and they're one of the most successful franchise or leagues around North America.
Well, I think the thing that we don't realize is that everybody is holding this out, that salary cap is the answer. I don't think it is the answer. I think there are a lot of problems. I mean, we have a 65-cent dollar, which is difficult to deal with any kind of a salary cap. We have a situation where the Montreal Canadiens pay more in property tax than all the American teams do combined.
You bet.
And I think that those are two problems that have to be addressed. And you look at the model scenario like the NFL. What you don't realize, the NFL starts the season with each team receiving $70 million from their TV package, so they don't have to. They make money without ever having to put one person in the stands. And hockey, unfortunately, does not have that luxury to have that type of a TV contract.
Can the NHL continue to survive in Canada?
Oh, I think so. I think that you just have to be creative in how you deal with generating revenue and paying out expenses. The thing about the way it's structured right now, at least from a collective bargaining standpoint, is that everything is in place for them to pay the players exorbitant amounts of money, and everything is in place for them to say we've had enough and we're not paying that much anymore. And all you have to do is just say no, we're not going to do it. So everything really is in place. It's just a matter of the well-managed teams, and there are several well-managed teams in Canada, including Edmonton and Calgary, which are very well-managed and very well-run, and they're either making a little bit of money or breaking even. And so if they get into the playoffs, they're going to make money, and I think that that's a positive thing. So I think management plays a huge part in how well a team is financially and economically.
When fans are sitting around discussing the game of hockey, and I mean, there's no question about it, you were one of the most prolific scorers in the game. What do you want them to say when they bring up the name Mike Gardner?
Well, I would hope that they would say that that we enjoyed watching him play, that he was a consistent performer and that he came to the rink and gave everything that he had every night, and he was able to do it consistently for a long time. And if I could have someone say that about me, then I think that would be great.
Absolutely. Mike? And we certainly want to thank Hockey for Everyone. Bruce Smith and everyone involved in this great program have just put a lot of smiles on 50 of the underprivileged children around the metro area. Certainly it was a thrill to see these kids walking up, and Mike Gartner being there. It was a thrill for most of them. Most of them a little too young to probably know who Mike Gartner is, but to receive brand new hockey gear, and I'm sure it'll be handed down once they grow out of it. And that's the unfortunate thing. They will eventually grow out of this gear, but they'll hand it down to their brothers or sisters or next door neighbors, whatever the case might be. So to Bruce Smith and the gang at Hockey for Everyone, congratulations and a big thumbs up from all of us here at Time Out here on TVNB. And as well, we should make mention that the 50 children who receive this gear for the rest of the hockey season will receive 1 hour of free ice time, compliments of the folks at the Lord Beaverbrook Arena and the City of St. John. To Shirley McAlery and the council, nice going. That's real nice to see the city get involved with this project as well. As we mentioned, St. John Flames played host to the Springfield Falcons on Saturday night, and just shy of 5,000 on hand at Harbor Station to get a look at Grant Fuhr, who, of course, was running the bench. And not a very pleasing game for the St. John Flames or their fans, as they were holding on to first place in the Atlantic Division, and really a good opportunity for the Flames to put some space between themselves, the Quebec Citadels, and the Lowell Lock Monsters, who are creeping up there very quickly as well, making a run for first place as the Flames played host to the Springfield Falcons on Saturday night. We go to the highlight reel, and probably the only thing to keep an eye on here, folks, late stages of the third period. Rocky Thompson drops the gloves, and that's probably only the only highlight St. John Flames had to speak of on Saturday night. So let's go to the tape and get a look at how things broke down.
Right point, over to Tiley. Slap shot, tip, Duchesne the save. It's loose, and it's in the net. Borowski moves it to the left corner. Chris Winnis is there in front. They score! Across for Hood. He tees it up. Wrist shot, flutters towards the goal. And Duchesne robs Hansen, although the goal light is on, and the referee is signaling no goal.
Wow.
Mike Brennan put the goal light on, and the Falcons are saying, talk to the goal judge, big boy. Fans are still looking for some blood. Here's Rocky Thompson. Takes the punch at David Bell, and now we have a fight. These guys fought earlier in the season. They went toe-to-toe, and now Thompson and Bell are going at it again.
Wow.
Left hand, big blows
Working
from
for
both
Bell.
players. Thompson landing a few more on Bell, who's a little bit stunned here. Now Bell comes back with a left. Now Rocky lands a few more lefts, and now the linesmen try to get in. They're not having much success in trying to hold these guys back, and now this fight is over. Rocky Thompson appears to be cut below his right eye from one of those lefts from David Bell, and Thompson and Bell still having words. And Bell is a bloody mess.
I told you that was a pretty good tussle with Rocky Thompson, wasn't it? Whew, that was a beauty. Been a while since we've seen one. Rocky really dropped the gloves and go at it. So, unfortunately, the Flames came up on the losing end of that one. They still hold on to first place in the Atlantic Division, but Quebec is in action tonight as they play host to Springfield, trailing the Flames by 2 points, so they can pole vault into a tie for first place in the Atlantic Division. Don't forget that Springfield Flames matchup will be rebroadcast tonight right here on TVNB at 10 o'clock. A couple of local notes to make mention of. Team New Brunswick Special Olympics floor hockey team captured the silver medal at the Special Olympics being held in Ottawa over the weekend. They lost to Nova Scotia in the gold medal game, so nice going to the guys. The team is comprised of players from St. John and the Kennebecasis Valley. Also, the St. John Amateur Speed Skating Club finished second overall at the Eastern Canadian Speed Skating Championships that were held at the Aiken Center in Fredericton over the weekend. 7 medals, second overall, and Katie Reynolds was named top skater at the event. So nice going, Katie, and nice going to the entire team as well. That's going to do it for us here on Time Out here on TVNB. Certainly hope you enjoyed the last 30 minutes. We will be back again Monday night at 7 o'clock, and hopefully I'll have a few more people to talk to and argue with when we get back in touch with you next Monday at 7 o'clock as well. As we head out, we had a chance to catch up with St. John Flames head coach Rick Vive last week. Of course, it's All-Star Weekend coming up in Toronto at the Air Canada Centre, and Rick will be part of the festivities. Earl Smith dropped by with the TVNB cameras, and here's what Rick had to say about going to Toronto and being part of All-Star Weekend. Have a good week. We'll see you next Monday.
Oh, there's no question. I think it's an honor. It's It's recognition for what you did throughout your career as a player in the National Hockey League, and it's the first one that I've been asked to play in, so it's quite nice to get this opportunity.
It's going to bring back some memories to be in Toronto after the career you had there with the Leafs over the period of years. First Leaf to score 50 goals and did it 3 years in a row. That must be quite a thrill to have done that.
There's no question. I had a good career in Toronto, personally anyway. I mean, there was no team success, which was a little bit unfortunate, but you know, right now the team is good. Right now the Toronto Maple Leafs are one of the best teams in the league, and it's going to be awfully nice to go back there and be, I guess, involved in that building and with the fans, that probably a lot of whom are still that went to the games when I played there, that are still there, and of course the successes of the Maple Leafs today. Put it in!
Any memories of the most memorable goal of all those goals, those 441 or whatever you scored during career? What's the most memorable one in Maple Leaf Gardens? Do you have a recollection of that?
Well, to be honest with you, they were all memorable. I mean, every goal you score is memorable. It's an accomplishment every time you score a goal in the National League, or get an assist, or win a game, or you know, the biggest thing is that I didn't get a chance to win a championship, but I guess the first year that I scored the 50th goal to become the first player ever in history in the franchise, which was kind of a shock when I got close to 50. When I was around 41, they started talking about it, and I had no idea that no one else had ever done it, with all the great players that had played for the Leafs in the past. And so
pressure was on then?
Not really. I didn't feel any pressure. It was something I was either going to do or I wasn't going to do. It was no big deal. If I did it, it was going to be a great accomplishment. If I didn't, I wasn't going to consider it a failure. It was still a great year. But that 50th that year was very special, and will always be special, and probably the best and most special goal that I scored my whole career.
What about, apart from goal scoring, any other fond memories of Maple Leaf Gardens in your career there?
Maple Leaf Gardens itself, growing up as a kid and watching Hockey Night in Canada from the Montreal Forum, and Maple Leaf Gardens, of course, they didn't have the teams across Canada that they have now. There was just those two. Fabled Maple Leaf Gardens. It's got a lot of history, not only hockey, but a lot of other great things in that building. And just every day stepping onto that ice surface, I remember going out many mornings, 20 minutes, half hour before practice, with just myself with a bucket of pucks and shooting pucks and ringing them off the goal post.